Hello and welcome to the 145 Rural Podcast, where we are here to strengthen music careers and communities one song at a time. And now here's your host, Jacob Wing. Yay!
Hey everybody, and today I am lucky enough to sit down with Mr. Riley James. He is an artist out of Missoula, Montana, and he has recently been putting out some great music, and he was kind enough to reach out to us and saying he wanted to sit down and have a conversation, so we really lucked out on this one. So thank you so much for showing up and doing an interview with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. So we're going to get right into it. You have kind of recently been on the scene. About 2002 is about when you started putting out music. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, like when did I start releasing stuff? Maybe a lot of stuff this year. Soft releases,
right?
And in 2021 on like third party websites like Audius and all the Web3 things, and then more, I guess, mainstream quote unquote releases.
Right, the big distributors.
Yeah,
makes sense. Well, that's just recent here. So obviously, I assume with how much talent you're showing and how much your music ability is really high up there, you must have been doing this for a while. So where did you get your musical start?
Yeah, so I got my musical start in my childhood. I think the first stuff that I composed was on piano when I was like 8 years old, just writing sonatas and things
start,
like that,
right?
and experimenting with chord structures. And so I always remember like the first song that I wrote. I think I was 14. I've been playing acoustic guitar for a number of years.
Right.
And showed my grandma. I was like, Grandma, come check out this really cool song I wrote. Tell me what you think. And she's like, wow, Riley, that's a great song. You should let someone else sing it. Which I love telling that story because to me, that was the moment where I was like, oh, really, Grandma? Well, check it out. I'm going to sing my music. Yeah. And now I'm going to work really hard at becoming a better singer. So I've been writing music for a while. And it's really these past couple years that I feel like things have, I guess, kind of unlocked, or at least all of the years have kind of started to mesh together where I feel a little more comfortable showing people what I'm doing.
Makes sense. So get that early start. You finally start writing songs about 14, moving on. What would you say some of your early influences were?
Early influences, the Beatles.
Right.
I mean, standard, right?
Of course. They're the best for the reason.
The Doors, Led Zeppelin,
bit of a heavy influence.
Pink Floyd.
Nice.
All of the good kind of psychedelic rock of that
guitar
era.
rock, right?
Yeah. So, but like when I was a kid, I listened to a lot of Motown. So like The Temptations,
cool. Right.
Michael Jackson, stuff like that. Yami Bolo's another big influence that's kind of going into the more deep reggae roots. So kind of I've always pulled from a lot of different sources. Music's kind of this thing that for me breaks down barriers, and I find that I'm more inspired by a lot of things rather than just like a niche.
Right. You can really tell, especially with your last three releases. They are definitely, you can feel different things from different parts. It's definitely Riley, but you can feel the different parts. Mm-hmm. A very huge tapestry of different sound influences. So that's cool to know. So you write your first song. How long did it take you before you did your first performance?
Yeah. So my first time being on a stage was, I want to say like, I was 16 and it was at the Strawberry Festival in Billings, and I used to busk a lot as a teenager.
Nice.
And a younger adult, and I brought an acoustic guitar to the Strawberry Festival. This woman walked up to me. She's like, hey, we had someone cancel. Do you want to get on stage? I see you have a guitar. And me and my teenage brain, I'm like, I got this. I'm gonna rock the house. I've been waiting for this moment. It's my big break. And so I get up on stage and I played a song by the Beatles, did an original, did another song, looked around the crowd, realized I'm wildly unprepared. This is much harder than I expected it to be. In that moment, had a huge dawning of appreciation for people who are actually up on stage, and then went on to improvise a song about a dude in the front row for probably like 5 to 10 minutes, did that, and then walked off stage.
That's
like,
impressive.
I'm done. That's what I got. So that was my first experience, which I'm grateful for, because I think it's important as an artist to kind of have that moment where it's like
you a real perspective.
Yeah. Right. It's like, oh, maybe I can't just get up here and do this. I need to be prepared. And so like first like actual time on stage was at Bones Brewing. I want to say in 2018 or 2019, performing with my buddy Idiosyncrasy, who's also a really talented hip hop artist and putting stuff out. And that was a really fun show, really good crowd, great reactions. And then after that was at Downtown Tonight in 2020. And since then, I would consider that kind of like
you've been coming out party. Okay, right, okay. So what were there any hiccups? What was your biggest challenge when it came to getting out of stage? Did you have the nerves, anything like that?
Always. I still have the nerves.
Yeah,
I don't think there's ever going to be a moment where I'm not nervous about getting on stage.
A lot of people like they don't understand that. It's a thing that never goes away. It's just something that you come up to and you just climb that hill when it's there. Yeah. But it's great for other people to hear that. So thank you for sharing. I mean, just being honest is so great.
Oh, it's the best.
Right. So from there, you've got your first performance going on, and you do some engineering, correct? Mm-hmm. When did that start?
So yeah, I started seriously engineering, want to say, gosh, was it a year ago, two years ago, maybe March of last year, I had the opportunity to intern at the Vault Recording Studio,
right?
Which really opened up my eyes, not only to like production and sonically, which I guess would be opening up my ears, right? It opened up my ears.
Nice segue, I loved it.
But I fell in love with it. The aspect of taking a sound and kind of taking it to the next level, right? Like what you hear on the radio or what you hear as a finished product, like that's not how it sounds going in. And for me as an artist, it's like I want to figure out how to make it better, right? I want to figure out how to get what's in my head out there. And for me, the path to doing that was engineering and working with other artists and falling in love with gear and compressors and EQ and like what is all this magic scientific stuff that in the long run has benefited my music, because I'm a huge advocate for kind of the DIY approach. I mean, it takes a team, but in today's era where it is so easy to get some equipment and record at home, learning how to audio engineer made me a better producer. It made me a better songwriter. It made me have a more in-depth understanding of song structure and dynamics and why this part needs to be loud and, you know, why this needs to be soft. And yeah.
Well, this is one I definitely wanted to ask you for sure, and this kind of leads perfectly into it. As an engineer that has been doing work, you've done the internship, you've been writing your own songs, you've been performing, so you're wearing a ton of hats, and that's the modern age, wearing a ton of hats. So what has been the hardest part for you juggling all those? Has there been any drawbacks to that at all?
Yeah, it's getting my social media hat on.
I
think is the hardest one as an artist, right? Is, you know, I can write it, I can record it, I can obsess for hours in my room with headphones on or speakers and be like, oh, I got to tweak this part. And then it's coming to the next step, which is like, okay, now I need to promote it. Which I can admit is an area I'm still not as versed in. And so that's always kind of a bit of a challenge, right? Like, how do I present this thing that's really important to me in a way that is going to build as much excitement as I feel about it for other people?
Right. And
then do that consistently enough to where people actually see it, right?
Yeah, and continue to come back to it. And it's such a roller coaster. So going out and playing shows, have you had to book your own shows, or what has that process been like if you had?
Yeah, it's kind of been like half and half. I've been really fortunate in that people have reached out to me just from being involved in the community. I think as a musician, that's one of the biggest things I would tell any new artist or anyone is like, go to shows, meet the people that are doing it, get involved in your community. Ultimately, like that's the people who are going to hit you up and be like, hey, do you want to get on this bill? You know, and through that, you'll not only make great friends and have the opportunity to like write music with people, but you'll also kind of get an idea of how it works from people who are already doing it. And then, yeah, you know, sometimes it's just as simple as being like, hey, you guys got a stage and I noticed bands play here. Do you have like an opening?
That's fantastic. Yeah, just reach out. And sometimes it's really tough and scary to do that. But yeah, that's great advice. So you've kind of, like you said, we got the mini hats thing going. You're a part of everything. After doing all this, what's your process like now when it comes to like writing and recording and releasing?
Yeah. So I have a lot of unreleased stuff, which at the time of recording, that was one of the benefits of working at a recording studio, right? I was having access to equipment and recording. And so I realized with that is it was a huge blessing going through it, right? I'm like, I gotta get these songs out. Oh no, what do I do? And then I realized like, oh, I have all this stuff where I can actually just line up the releases, right? And kind of step back. And so now my process is I'm always writing music, right? Like that's not going to stop. I'm always having this voice in my ear that's like, well, the stuff that I've written now is way better than the stuff I recorded a year ago. I should just release that. And the reality is like it's going to be new to whoever hears it. Ultimately, it may not be new to me, but it'll be new to everyone else. And so right now I'm in this deep period of writing and mixing and working on my next project while knowing like, hey, this is a good opportunity with the new year to line up releases. I think being prepared is really important for us as artists, especially if you're an artist like me, where it's like, yeah, I can pump them out. But you want me to write a post about and like, you know, like what is that? Which is still an opportunity for creation. That's the beautiful thing about social media.
Right, yeah.
And so my process now kind of looks like, okay, while I'm working on newer materials, going through my back catalog, finding the songs that I do want to release as singles, striving to line them up and keep myself working in like a 3 to 4 month advance period.
Gotcha.
So that during that time, I can simply just focus on the project I'm working on and not have to worry so much about like, oh, I've got to line up this thing for distribution and do this post. And I admit I can be better at it.
I think we all could say that.
Yes, part of the journey.
But that's some true wisdom there. Getting ahead of things, having, like you said, getting that buffer period built in, that's so smart. Thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic.
Hi there, and welcome to the ad break. We're just going to take a moment to let everybody know about our community of growing members, and if you'd like to be a part of that, just look at the info below and there will be a click there for an email sign up to join in and get your voice heard. As well, if you're enjoying this content, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/145rural. There you can join any of our groups, and you can add to the discussion of what topics we will choose that will help you and hopefully future members of our groups, as well as join monthly Q&As and other such benefits. Again, that's patreon.com/145rural, and we look forward to seeing you there. Now, back to that regularly scheduled episode, and enjoy that content. Thanks again.
So, again, you working in the studio, you doing the internship, having that access at the time. If you were talking to either your younger self or a new artist that just hadn't been in a studio yet, what would you share with them that they should be or should do, or how would they get prepared for the studio?
Know what you want to work on beforehand. Sit down with your song, write out. Well, obviously you write out the lyrics, right? But really, really dive into how do I want this song to feel? Do I want dub tracks? Do I want harmonies? How many different harmonies do I want on it? Where do I want the harmonies to come in at? What does the chorus look like? Do I want a beat change? Do I want to cut out the drums here? Like really have a completely tailored product from your head so that when you go in there, you're constantly working. I know for me, like the first time I went to the studio, it's like, yeah, I've got like 20 songs written. I got this EP and I came in with my crystals and my nice vest on and I was like, let's create, you know, because it's the studio, right? It's part of the vision, the dream. You see these rockumentaries and all these cool things about these big bands that are like just chilling in the studio for months on end, hanging out. The reality of that is they have a record deal. The record company is paying for the studio time. They can afford to kind of just like lounge about in the studio and drink Cokes for 2 hours and talk to each other waiting for that inspiration. Reality for new artists is studio time's expensive.
Right.
And so to be as prepared as possible is your best game plan so that you can show up and begin working. And also like being open to feedback is important. You know, we all have this vision that we have as artists on how we want it to sound. And then you have the engineer who will also hear stuff and also, you know, want to add in a certain element to it. And so it's working with your team in that regard and being open to what the art wants itself to be. I'm a huge advocate of saying like we have an idea of what we want our music to sound like. Ultimately, the song will decide for itself.
That's so I've always thought life reflected music in that way, where it's like you have a plan in life, but you know, it's everybody's just gonna laugh at you because that never happens. Music, exact same thing. It's like you might have a plan for the song, but that's not where it's gonna wind up. Just let it happen, let it go. Yeah. Just flow with it, as you would say. That's fantastic. So, although it might be a kind of relatively young career for you getting started, you're already kind of making a good splash. What have been some of your wins so far?
Just playing consistent gigs this summer. I did like 11 or 12 gigs, which was major for me. I was constantly going throughout the summer, and that was a huge win. That was kind of a really solid moment for my heart, where I was like, oh, I'm doing the dang thing. Like, this feels great. I'm showing up. People are showing up to the shows. I'm putting out music.
Right.
I'm getting engagement on the post. I'm getting listens on Spotify. Like, it's just really heartwarming to be like, I put all this effort into something, and then to kind of see the rewards come back, and then also keep my mind like, wow, I'm just starting out doing this. So what does like a year look like? What does 2 years look like with continued effort? Because I know, again, going back to like early artist vision, right? Teenager, I'm gonna be a rock star, and I'm gonna write the song that'll change the world, and everyone's gonna go crazy, and the record companies are gonna call me a week later and be like, "We want you. You got that thing, kid."
Mm-hmm.
The reality is, like, a lot of musicians, you put in a lot of time and effort over the course of years doing this, and for me, that's always a really comforting thought, because it's like, if I just continue doing this and continue building up these small wins, who knows what the future brings, but it takes time. So that's, for me, even getting contacted from another band, like, hey, we want you to play this gig with me. Huge win. If one person listens to my song and like message me, it's like, that was a cool song. I'm like, cool, I did my thing, right? You're listening to my music. That's the goal. If one person listens to my song,
right,
I'm happy.
So you've gotten very good at finding those wins and making them wins, acknowledging those small moments, but also, realizing the context of the entire thing. And I think that mindset you were speaking of, understanding that this is a long-term thing. It's never a short time, I'm a star. It's a, this is a process.
Mm-hmm.
There's kind of a pressure relief in that almost, where it's just like, oh, I can relax and just, it's not get too relaxed, but enough that it's not, anxiety ridden kind of thing. That's, it's a lot there. So you've got that. And like I said, if you get a chance, please go listen to the music. It's fantastic. We'll have links, of course, down below. But what are you working on moving forward? What are some projects you're going to be doing? I know you said you're going to be working on an album right now. Anything else you're working on?
Yeah, so I'm working on an album, and I'm also writing a movie to go along with the album.
Oh, that's all. Okay. So we got a Renaissance man. Okay.
I'm sitting, I'm like, what do I want to do next? And maybe it's just me where I'm like, I'm going to do a whole bunch. I was like, I'm trending kind of towards more of my soulful aspect as a songwriter. And with that just came this vision of like, oh, I could actually write this film that equally tells a story, and the music can kind of drive the film, right? And the film can drive the music, and then I can release them both. I'm like, wow, that would be a really fun project. And I was like, I'm going to dedicate some time, and it's winter, that's the great thing about Montana in the winter.
Best part about anything like that in Northwest, or anywhere in the North where you have to hibernate almost. You've got two choices. It's like you just die off until late spring, or you find a way to build yourself up to come out in that spring and just really take it on. And I can't think of a better project for it.
I was like, this will be good. I will have something to do. And with that also was like, cool, now I need to get my home studio finished. And so it was kind of it's the little ways that I can trick myself artistically to applying just the right amount of pressure to continue pushing my art forward. I like hanging out with my cats and watching anime. It's super fun. Am I doing anything artistic while I'm doing that? Possibly.
Recharging your soul, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But I always want to try and push the boundaries of my art. I always want to try and push myself to the next level. I don't want to put out a song that's like, oh, that sounds exactly like this song. Granted, I'm writing my music. Chances are some of it will have similar key structures, whatever. I can live with that. But I want to continually be growing.
Right. That's fantastic. Just going to sneak into the part of that where you just said, you just mentioned, like, you went from your internship and then you're just building up your home studio right now, which is a ton of our audience is all in that exact same situation. What have you found as struggles as building your home studio?
Yeah, that's the thing. One struggle was the room, right? Mm-hmm. I would genuinely say that if you want to have a good recording, create a good room. That's what's being captured in the mic. And so that was a fun lesson to learn. I'm listening to these recordings. I'm like, oh, it doesn't have like quite the same zhuzh as when I was at the studio. I'm like, oh, maybe it's my untreated room. So treated my room recording sound better. I'm like, oh, cool. And then kicks in the obsession of like, well, now, like, what other little trick can I do?
Hole. Yes.
So that's been an interesting opportunity, I would say, is going from a really professional recording environment where it is sound treated, where there is really good equipment, you know, where I'm working with an engineer who went to school, who has all the knowledge, to then like stepping away and trying to do it on my own and still find that balance and still find that sound quality has been really fun and also like really relaxing, because it's in a weird way, it's taken off that need for perfectionism that I have, because I was like, I want this to sound as good as possible. You know, I'm constantly saying to myself, I won't be satisfied as an engineer unless I can mix and record something that sounds like it's coming out of like East West Studios or Capitol Records or Columbia or something like that, which may be a big cookie to chew, whatever. That's my obsession. That's my goal. And so knowing that I'm doing this in my room is like, okay, well, it's not going to sound like Studio A at East West Studios. I'm not Bill Putnam. I didn't build, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sitting here with Sinatra and thousands of dollars to build an awesome room. But what I can do is better understand the fundamentals and apply them. And then go on from here. And so that's been really, really exciting for me as an independent artist, is like, it's only up from here. And the only thing limiting me from doing that is my knowledge, and so I have the opportunity to learn how to build a good room, to learn how equipment goes.
Mindset, yes, fantastic advice. So we've dug deep into what makes you, Mr. Riley, and we've got to experience what you're gonna be doing going forward. I just want to see if there's any advice you would share with any new and upcoming artists that, you know, from your experience, what would you tell somebody coming new into the music world? Always hold on to why you do this, I think, is important. You know, we all started writing music and expressing ourselves because we have something in us that needs to get out. You know, I feel very fortunate and blessed that my craft and my obsession and this really cool thing that I get to do is music. You know, I enjoy that because it's not easy. It's complicated. Guitars are weird. Like, if you've seen the neck of a guitar, like looking at that as a kid, I'm like, I don't know what any of this is, but people look so cool playing it. I don't care who are, even just holding a guitar. If you just stand on stage with a guitar, you automatically look cool. That is so true.
Like, you don't have to play it. Just stand there and hold it.
It's the fact of being human.
Just look cool. And so it's like, it's this never-ending puzzle that I'm always unraveling is music, right? How do I write better music? How do I learn better guitar scales? You know, how do I get sweep picking down? And so it's this like infinite thing that I'm striving for, that every time I learn something new, I get to get a deeper part of my soul and heart out. And so with that is like, just don't give up. Like, there's so many moments where, you know, you'll sit there and I've been there and it's like, man, is my music good? That actually doesn't really matter. Do I enjoy playing my music? That's all that really matters. You know, people like, I like that song. Cool. Big win. But the biggest thing is, like, you gotta put your love into it. You have to enjoy it. One of the coolest things I ever heard, and it was after the Strawberry Festival incident, because I ran into like one of the dudes who played on stage and was talking with him. He had a guitar, I had a guitar. Boom, instant friends, right? Musicians. Right, And he was like, my dad told me something that's really important. He says, if you aren't on stage enjoying it, people can tell. And if you're not enjoying it, why would anyone else enjoy it? And so I always try and carry that into my work, is like, am I enjoying this? When I'm having a good time, yeah, I'm hitting better solos. When I'm out of my mind, not thinking about like, oh, here I am technical, major pentatonic or Dorian or whatever. It's like, when I can be in that flow and the love and appreciation for my craft, like, naturally my art's going to be better. And so if I was to tell anyone who's just starting out any advice of any type, would be like, remember why you're doing this thing. Always carry that with you. Be open for the unexpected and the journey, because it is a journey. It's an adventure. You're diving into this beautiful craft that, like, scientists, you know, Leonardo da Vinci and all these beautiful people have, like, dedicated their lives to. And just have fun, right? Just don't give up. Have fun. It's gonna take time. It's the only thing that's you're really competing against is yourself.
Oh my God, such good insight. Thank you so much. I mean, you should be very thankful for that. That is fantastic. So that's really all we have to talk about. I just want to make sure that everybody go check out his socials. They're all below. Go look into what he's doing. Obviously, he's always got something going on. Go listen to the music. That's all below. And really, thank you so much for taking the time to be on camera with us and do this interview. So go take a listen to that, see what he's up to, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Later.